So by disclosure, Anjali asked my son to do this last year at our conference, and I wasn't sure it's a great idea. You guys will tell us afterwards. I have full confidence though, so that should be interesting. I was going to present this as a case and do some unknowns, but you guys already know this is my son. And let's try that. So, let's read something here. Can I go back? And then the next slide. There we go. So we're not going to do it as a case report. I just retitled this. How to undergo 6 open heart surgeries, 11 heart casts, 3 emergent cardioversions, 1 ICD shock by age 17, and still turn out okay.
Turn out great.
Let's not go too far. You'll see. So the patient in question here was born 2:04 a.m. and turned blue at 2:09. And that was the first time we knew that I shouldn't have done this, actually. Jeez. That he had transposition, VSD, and pulmonary atresia. Jeez. I thought I could do this. I may not. This is what he looked like when he was born. Had to spend 6 weeks in the ICU. He could pick enough to have the surgery. I had the surgery, and 5 days later, it broke down. I had to have his open heart surgery number 2, which probably was harder on us than him, although maybe not. He did well for a few years, came home, wore a monitor for about a year. Grew up to about age 2, outgrew the repair, had to have another open heart surgery number 3. I did okay until 6th grade. 6th grade, first week of 6th grade, went into a rhythm about 240 beats per minute, got pulled out of 6th grade in an ambulance, went to the emergency room, got cardioverted emergently, one of many times. The day he was going to go home after that surgery, we were packing the room, they came in and said, oh, you know what, there's a leak. And you can imagine if you're a 6th grade boy and you've got to go to the surgery the day you're heading home to see your dog. And so that was surgery number 5. And that was complicated by the fact that they called the parents right during the surgery and said, oh, you know what, we got air in the bypass machine. So we think when he comes off the pump, we're going to fly him up to Minneapolis to go in the hyperbaric chamber, which they avoided by waking him up and making him move his fingers and hands. And he was okay, so they didn't do that. Jeez, shouldn't have done this. I wasn't as resilient as I thought. But he bounced back. He came out of that surgery, went home, played with his dog, his sister. And then about age 14, that valve started to shrink down, so we had to have it replaced. They put a Melody valve in where they can deploy it through the neck. They had about 5.5 hours of having catheters thrown. We got through that. Actually came to one of our conferences here at the Kalahari a couple months later. Did a few things here he probably shouldn't have, like pretend he was poop from an elephant. I blame that on his brother and sister because he wouldn't do that. I did make LEFSA right before Christmas, but then again we ended up going to Boston Children's for another heart cath to try and get the conduit to stay open, and they bought him a little time, another 5, 6, 7 hour catheterization, but bounced back. And the one thing he wanted to do was go see Fenway Park, not because of a deep love for baseball, but because how many people have seen Ted, the talking bear, who gets his stuffing ripped out at Fenway. That's why he wanted to go to Fenway. So we did. He bounced back, came home, did some skiing. We went to Florida. He and his brother stole some coconuts. I didn't show you what he did with them, but he made himself look like he had boobs. But I thought we should leave that out, because that sort of reflects sometimes his personality. Back to school, snowboarding, big snowboarder. Got some videos I didn't share of him doing flips and so forth. Made it to homecoming. We went to Lake Tahoe. And when your mom screams at you, get off that, you shouldn't be doing that. What do? You pretend to fall over the edge and make your mom scream even more. This was our trip to Hawaii. This was now 11th grade. We went to Hawaii. And this is a picture I took the night we arrived. We got off the plane. We're ready to have 5 days at a male conference. And this is the next picture on my camera, because somebody decided to go cliff jumping. Not cliff jumping on a little cliff by the hotel, but where the natives go to prove manhood and so forth. So we jumped off a cliff, sharks out on the horizon, all riptide. But you know, to prove manhood when you're 11th grade, you do that. And then you swim against the riptide, and that's enough. But not if you're resilient. You do it twice. Then you do it a third time. And surprisingly, the Sharks didn't come in and get him, but at that point he tripped a rhythm again where he had to get emergency cardioverted. So we got to experience the emergency room in a small town in Hawaii. That was a signal that the conduit was closed again, so we had a couple quiet days in Hawaii. And we came back, and that was surgery number 6. Amazing. Kid bounced back again. Give him a phone, he was pretty happy. And then when you go home, you can't play. You make snowmen with your cat outside in the February weather. A couple months later, back to rollerblading, a little yoga on the beach, a little frisbee, a lot of snowboarding again. Graduated high school. Some people weren't betting on that, not because of health issues, for other reasons. If you go to the Grand Tetons, again, you have to find places that make your mom go nuts. So how high can you climb where you shouldn't climb? That was a big occupation for many of our trips. You don't go to Washington, D.C. and get the history. You go to Washington, D.C. and try and make your mom go crazy, like how close can you get to the edge. We climbed Camelback. He looked good at the top of Camelback. His father did not. And this is our recent place where we went and saw some old cars, and he's thinking about a 67 Mustang and how to save money for that. So he's got some real goals. And he's been a good kid. So I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Bauer. That takes a lot of courage for any parent to be part of and then to openly share. And I don't know if there's a way we can measure that resilience or teach anybody better than sharing our story. So we greatly appreciate it, and I realize it was not easy. But how many of us want to give Johnny a big round of applause for... I truly call this rockstar resilience. And before we hear it from Johnny, so I saw Johnny without knowing any connection. And I was like, who is this guy who's always smiling? You know, every time we go to the same health club and Johnny supervised the front desk, and I would just think to myself, who is this really bright young gentleman who always, you know, I'm always getting there late to pick my kids, but I'm always greeted by this brightest smile ever on planet Earth, without fail, every single time I go to the health club. And then finally, when I put 2 and 2 together, I was just blown away by how he embraces everything, and at an age as young as Johnny's, just living his life with utmost optimism and spreading the joy. So thank you for teaching us that, Johnny. And before we hear you speak, shall we hear your favorite piece and quiz the audience?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Thank you, Corbin.
This one should be familiar to you guys, so feel free to sing along.
Ruthie, could you pull up our slide too?
All right, Corbin, show them what we came here for. No, come on, man. Well, my friend, he sounds a lot better than he did last night at 3 in the morning while Dad was sleeping and I was trying to get some shut-eye myself.
All right, let's see how people did. Who thinks? Do we have the audience? Oh, wow! Johnny, you have great taste, and Corbin, you would just, that was knockoff. Yeah. That
That was Pink Floyd, you guys are right. So most, if not all of you, are wondering why in the world you just watched a young kid walk on stage at a medical conference simply to strum out the chords to Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here. Well, one reason is because music is awesome. The second reason is because music is a tool I believe can not only better put us in touch with ourselves, but also the present moment. That being said, I chose this specific song because it asks the most important question of whether or not we know heaven from hell. Perhaps the difference between heaven and hell is only a matter of perspective. Today, I'm here to tell you about resiliency through perspective and how one leads to another. When Dr. Bagra first approached me with the opportunity to speak on the topic of resiliency, I had nothing, not even the first idea of what made me resilient. I hadn't really ever considered myself resilient, so why would anybody else? Perhaps this is because it isn't my own resiliency that has gotten me to where I am today, but rather the friends, the family, and the experiences that I've had since these surgeries that have made me resilient. Although drugs like morphine, oxycodone, and Demerol are a great, quick fix to what seems to be an ever-lingering pain, they are by no means a permanent solution. Although there is no secret and perfect remedy to make everything better instantly, I found, in my own experience, that the reasons I've been able to pull through so many of these surgeries from hell is because of the friends, family, and experiences I know I have waiting on the other side. Now, I realize most of you in this room won't ever have an experience quite like this, and I pray you don't. So I've decided to take this time and make it more about what you can do for someone you might know in this situation, whether it's a friend or a family member. That being said, I think the most important aspect of going through this kind of experience was having my parents next to me before, during, and after the surgery. It sounds cliche, but knowing that I had folks next to me that would truly trade places with me was in a way almost inspiring. This made for a truly profound outlook on such a terrible situation. The next most important step to my recovery was my friends. When I say this, I mean my real friends. Not the friends that started coming around and asking how I was doing because they knew I was going through something big. They would take a picture, say peace, and I wouldn't see them for months. I'm referring to the friends you know you can call family. The ones that cared about you before, during, and after whatever it is you're going through. I've personally done a very solid job of surrounding myself with friends that are true. Friends that don't leave me at my worst, and friends that are there to shine with me at my best. Knowing that I have people like this on the other side waiting to see me pull through and create more memories is huge to recovery. The best part about these friends is that I genuinely believe helped me, the best part about these friends that I genuinely believe helped me recover more quickly was the way they acted. These kids didn't act like I had been through surgery. It's the easiest thing they could have done. They acted like nothing had happened. And the more they did that, the more I felt like nothing had. I truly was able to recover more quickly because of this. If they had sat there and asked me every day, how am I feeling with 60 tubes and broken ribs, I probably would have said, not great. Would we have gotten anywhere? Not particularly. So I want to thank them for taking my mind off of that and acting as I was one of them. The cherry on top of my recovery, and perhaps even my resiliency, was my life experiences after the surgeries. I thank God every day that my folks aren't helicopter parents. Had they kept me at home in their perfect little bubble where nothing could hurt me, sure, we would have been perfectly safe, but I'm still here in front of you guys today. Flip side of that, had they kept me at home, I probably wouldn't be able to hold down a steady job. I'd probably go through life with almost no friends, not knowing how to talk to people correctly. and I can guarantee you there's no way that I'd be up here before you folks today. It's because my parents let me go out, get me into trouble, which they sometimes questioned, bought me a snowboard, bought me a guitar, let me play music way too loudly, and stay out way too late that I'm able to give this speech before all of you today. I'm able to go to school, I got a job, and above all else, relate to others. I thank God every day for my parents and experiences since. Thank you.
So Johnny, you automatically teach and you teach others without knowing, right? Like my first contact with Johnny, I had no idea he was Dr. Bauer's son. And the day I realized, I was like, wow, this child just does it with grace, being natural, being authentic, so the authenticity. And to me, that's a testament of human learning and our ability to share our experiences. For the most, we do have an optimism bias, and there's plenty written about this. So one of the key things that I heard in your message, Johnny, was acceptance. You know, the fact that in our families, you know, we accept each other for who we are can be so powerful. And guess what? I'm guilty of doing this. I'm a parent to two young boys, 12 and 15, by the way, who are Pink Floyd lovers at their age. And I'm careful about the amount of time I spend improving them versus enjoying them. How many of us have spent way more time improving our loved ones? I'm guilty. Yeah, I mean, even if we have awareness, we just don't actively practice acceptance. So I gave you a heads up of a 5-3-2 plan, and Johnny very eloquently shared his plan. So I would invite all of you to take out 120 seconds. That's the 2 in our 5-3-2 plan. We're working backwards. Okay? 2 minutes when you get back home. Try to meet with your loved ones without improving them. Look them in their eye. Do something funny. Say something creative. So before I was exposed to this very mindful way of coming back home, the way I would come back home would be, I just told you I have a 12 and a 15-year-old, and yes, when I come back home, they are on their devices. So mom walks in and goes, put away those devices, get those dirty shoes out of the mudroom, get those dirty dishes in the dishwasher, right? There's nothing wrong in that. I've had a long day. But guess what? They were feeling like kings of the home until mom walked in. And if someone was to ask me what's my higher meaning of why I'm on planet Earth, I'm here to spread joy, and family means the most to me, as does to probably many of us in the audience. And guess what I did when I came back home? I totally ruined my higher meaning, right? So let's use the 2-minute rule, and I come back in, and Otis is on Snapchat, and he has 400 likes on a picture he posted 20 minutes ago. And I walk in, and I say, wow, 200 likes? That's great, and what are you doing here, Otis? And I meet Tage, and I look them in their eye, and I'm not looking at my watch for 120 seconds right now, but I'm truly giving them the gift of affiliative connection. I don't want to be a threat, I want to be an affiliation. Between my husband and I, it's a different story, because we are texting at 3 p.m. Who's picking the boys, who's picking dinner, right? We have a lot of logistical connection. So remember the 2 minutes of meeting with your family with joy, with acceptance, without the urge to improve. And Dr. Bauer, you shared with us beautifully, and Johnny confirmed this in his speech, acceptance is something we could all give our loved ones a gift of. So Johnny, during your journey, what is like some most memorable moments through your journey? Would you say something stuck with you through the journey? What do you remember the most?
Well, it's funny, the thing I remember the most is, you know, as much as you try to forget these experiences and push them in the back, and, you know, I think, honest to God, forgetting them is the best thing I've done. That's what I've enjoyed the most. And that sounds so very weird to say and maybe to hear, but, you know, I actually met Corbin here years after I've had any surgeries, and, you know, he's been played, he's asked about him and stuff, but he's never cried or anything, and he treats me like, you know, way more of a normal kid than, and he knows what happened and everything, but he's not sitting here every day going, hey man, are you feeling okay? Does your chest, we do the dumbest things together, you guys. I mean, we get in some serious trouble together. I mean, we really do. And he's just, it's people like this, people like my parents that, have, they've seen the other side of it and they don't fret on it. So the biggest thing is just for me having been able to move forward and forget about it.
That's fantastic. How many of us are holding on to hurts right now in the room? Right? And you just gave us a reminder to let go of hurts. So there are two things common to all of us in this room. All of us have two things in common, irrespective of where we were born, when we were born, whether we were born as a male or a female, in which part of this world, and what uniforms we wear. Number one, and I know we don't reflect on ourselves like that, is we are all very precious. Very, 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 very precious. How many of us are sitting here and reflecting on our self-worth with, we are so precious, how come I have more money than I ever wanted, how come I have the most rocking job, how come my patients are not demanding at all, how come I love EMR, how come I get overcompensated for what I do? None of us, right? And what you did beautifully was you let go of that. So, A, we are very precious, though we don't reflect on our being precious the way we should. And B, we are all emotionally hurting. Irrespective of how much physical hurt we may have at this time, we all have emotional owies. And letting go of them can be one objective way of moving towards resilience. But knowing that we are all so miserable and we all suffer from self-worth, it brings us to a second practice, which is 3, and that's an act of compassion. And that's looking around this room, pick 3 people, randomly pick 3 strangers, turn around and send them your silent, I wish you well. You can start now. Look around. And usually I see bright smiles on faces, right? You're all activating your mirror neurons. Great. Who feels good? Is anyone feeling any immediate side effect of this practice? Excellent. I know Dr. Jurison said earlier, there are no side effects. So far, I can tell you from personal practice, and a lot of us do this with our patients. Dr. Sue, have you ever had a patient complain of a side effect from practicing compassion or acceptance? So, what's that?
Smiling too hard.
Smiling too hard. Well, you gotta watch out for fatigue of your smile muscles. Absolutely. Okay, great. Johnny, what would you tell your 10-year-old self? What are some things you wish you knew when you were 10 versus now?
10-year-old self. Tell him to take it easy. That's all you can do. There's no point to stress, it doesn't help. So, why worry about what tomorrow brings when you can be in the moment?
Wow, that's profound. How many of us want to go and tell our 10-year-old self to work harder? Nobody. How many of us spend our time working harder, being more miserable, working harder for things that we ultimately realize don't land us anywhere? I've done it. I do it every day, and I need to remind myself. Thank you. Does anyone want to shout out an advice they want to give their 10-year-old self? Enjoy.
Buy Apple stock.
Buy Apple stock. Wow. Wow. That's a strategist right there. That's how Dr. Perlman started, like the economic model, right, of integrative medicine. There you go. Buy Apple stock. Build integrative medicine programs on Apple software, right? Okay. And there's much written about this. There you can see that there is literature around top 5 things in palliative world about top 5 things people say when they are dying that they should not have done. And the number 1 thing was, I worked too hard and I did not spend enough time with my family. And part of that is we activate our self-worth by how the world sees us versus how we feel in our body. And we have this constant urge to prove ourselves. So thank you for that reminder, Johnny.
Absolutely.
And who would you say is a big role model for you?
Probably my parents, because they dealt with me. I was not an easy kid. regardless of all that, trust me. So, both my mom and dad.
That's fantastic. How many of us think our parents are good role models to us? How many of us feel that our kids are good role models to us? There you go. Look at that. How many of us need to look anywhere else? And my kids have asked me this question, who's a good role model to you? And honestly, the purity of childhood and watching our kids prioritize their joy and giving them the permission to do that can be very liberating. And it's not just for our own kids, but those of us who work with kids. Dr. Harrison gave excellent examples. How do we bring these principles into our practice, to our clinical bedside? I think all of us would agree that we learn so much from kids. And thanks again, Johnny, for sharing your journey with us. What would be your top 3 takeaways to anybody about life? I know you've already told us a few things. How would you summarize it?
Summary of that would be, once again, take it easy, enjoy the little things, and never lose hope.
That's brilliant. Enjoying the little things. Enjoying the little things. I've learned this many times from the other Dr. Sood, who's not in the room today, Dr. Ahmed Sood, who's been very instrumental in creating this program on resilient living. And we used to joke about snow in Rochester. So how many of us are from Midwest? I know there are a few of us from Florida. Okay, how many of you have been thankful for the first snow versus, oh my God, here it comes again. Thank you. Fantastic. And what are the kind of things you've been thankful for? For those of us who have been thankful for snow, just shout out. Snowflowers? Tires. Yes.
And go skiing in a while.
Going skiing.
Just pretty. Covers the brow.
The beauty of snow makes it pretty and beautiful.
It was paradoxical because one side of the road was covered in snow.
Yeah.
And stuff, and the other side was still green.
Yeah. So one of our high schoolers in our neighborhood is running a shoveling winter part-time job. And this is something that Amit's talked about, thankful for their job. Like, it's finally snowing, they're gonna make some money. And he came knocking door to door. He's like, please use me, I'm gonna give you a discount. I'm also Ojas's friend. I was like, heck, I'm gonna, of course. We are praying for snow. We are praying for snow. So there's so much we could be thankful for, right? So which brings me to our closing practice that I'd like to share with all of you, and that's practice of gratitude meditation. Like I said, this is preaching to the choir. I'm sure most of you in the room have some or the other practice of, gratitude and gratitude meditation. I'll walk you through a practice that we share with our patients in our practice. Please go ahead and close your eyes and take a big deep breath in. We're almost winding up for the day. Take a big deep breath in and imagine this breath to flow through the left side of your chest. This is part of that heart math biofeedback that some of you experienced. And let's get into a synchronized couple of big deep breaths in and out. And imagine that you're waking up in the morning. And at this point, bring the first person you want to be thankful to in your life in front of your eyes right now. And send this person your silent gratitude. Now think about the second person you want to be thankful to and look into this person's eyes. Examine their eye color, the detail, and send your silent gratitude at this time. As you keep taking deep breaths, now think about the third person and imagine a